Welcome to Hardline. The Babylon Bee, if you're not familiar, it's a satirical news site kind of similar to The Onion, except with more of a conservative and Christian kind of bent. They showed up in the news cycle a couple of times in the past week. First, about a week ago, Donald Trump had retweeted one of their articles, and some people were kind of joking that, oh, well, does he know that they're satire? The editor, by the way, assures everyone that yes, Trump is familiar with the site and that they are satire. But they've popped up in the news a few times, and generally because we are living in a post-irony, post-nuance world. That's right. There's no nuance left in the world, and when you get rid of nuance, that kills comedy, that kills humor, that kills satire. Another thing that kills satire is just the fact that things are just so ridiculous, but I'll briefly touch on that here in a minute. Now, 2 days ago, Wall Street Journal had a headline proclaiming Facebook has no sense of humor. Well, duh. That's obvious, but no, seriously, what happened is a Monty Python reference, Monty Python, the British comedy troupe. They made a reference to Monty Python and the Holy Grail, cult classic, hilarious movie, and Amy Coney Barrett. What is the headline here? Is Senator Hirono demands ACB be weighed against a duck to see if she's a witch. And that comes from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. And these peasants want to burn a woman because they say she's a witch. And like the way that they're able to prove that, there's the whole thing about you throw them in the water, and if they float, then they're a witch, and if they sink, too bad, they drown, but at least we know they weren't a witch. Anyways, there's a line in that scene where they say, burn her, she's a witch. And that shows up in this article, and it was, the page was demonetized due to inciting violence. That's right. We live in such a post-irony, post-nuance, world where comedy has been killed so thoroughly that making a reference to a well-known comedy film will get your page demonetized or possibly taken down. Literally, no, not an inkling of what humor is. And, it's not just Facebook, by the way. Facebook has previously soft censored, is what Reclaim the Net called it, when if you tried to share something from Babylon Bee, Facebook would bring up a little warning, like, are you sure you want to share this? Yeah, that's why I pressed the share button, so yeah. Snopes, of course, has also, been head-to-head with Babylon Bee multiple times. In fact, they resorted to doing a pseudoscientific study. Yes, that's right. They did fake science in order to try to prove that Babylon Bee was dangerous fake news. So they reworded headlines, pretty much extruded any comic value from them. Any kind of over-the-top hyperbole was completely stripped. So they asked questions like this. Most Americans believe that major media companies should apologize for pushing now debunked news story of collusion between President Trump and Russia, which was based on nation awaits apology from media that pushed fake news story for 2 years. Ha ha ha. See, one's funny and obviously a joke, and the other one, that is kind of true. Like, they should apologize, probably. Representative Ilhan Omar said that being Jewish is an inherently hostile act, especially among those living in Israel. I don't know, that sort of sounds like something she would say when you put it like that. The actual Babylon Bee headline was, Ilhan Omar, if Israel is so innocent, then why do they insist on being Jews? Ah ha ha. It's an obvious joke, right? The last one here. CNN news anchor Anderson Cooper said his belief that Trump colluded with Russia is unshakable. It will not change, regardless of statements or evidence to the contrary. And that was based on CNN. God allowed the Mueller report to test our unshakable faith in collusion. You notice how, like, on the one hand, it's an obvious Onion-style satire news headline, and on the other one, it's like, well, I don't know. That does kind of sound like something that could be real. But that's the whole point of satire. You take something that could be somewhat real, and you add layers of hyperbole and social criticism. And yeah, so meanwhile, Donny O'Sullivan has said, CNN reporter that, quote, having a disclaimer buried somewhere on your site that says it's satire seems like a good way to get around a lot of the changes Facebook has made to reduce the spread of clickbait and misinformation. Dude, does this happen to The Onion? Isn't that weird that The Onion, which has like a pretty much obvious liberal slant, especially in the past 8 years or so, like, they used to occasionally poke fun at liberals and Democrats and whatnot. They don't really that much anymore. And that's the reason why something like Babylon Bee has risen to such, cult acclaim, is because there's nothing like it, The editor, or CEO, I believe it was, has said something along the lines of how, basically, if you watch any late night comedian, they're all telling the same unfunny joke about Trump. Is Orange Man bad? Ha 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 ha. Audience proceeds to laugh uproariously. But another thing that he mentioned that I thought was really good was basically when you put politics, like if you're doing political comedy and you put your politics in front of or above the comedy side of it, you are going to fail. Because comedy is supposed to be, what is it? Funny. Okay. Speaking of things that used to be funny, a little plug. I'm going to be, in the next few days, I'm going to be watching the Borat 2 movie. No, I'm not going to put any money in, Sacha Baron Cohen or Bezos' pocket, and I'll plead the fifth as to how I'm going to get around that. But yeah, that and the South Park Pandemic special I recently watched. I think it would be kind of interesting to do something about political humor that works, political humor that doesn't work, and people who used to be funny and aren't anymore. So keep an eye out for that. It should be available soon at Tora3.com. Until next time, thanks guys.